Vamos a poner a prueba tu listening en inglés y te voy a contar algo muy personal. Honestamente estoy un poco nervioso porque por primera vez en línea en internet en un video voy a abrirme con ustedes de una forma súper real. Y quiero que sea un reto de listening para ti. Un listening challenge. Quiero que pongas a prueba cuánto inglés realmente entiendes cuando un nativo como yo habla inglés de verdad, a mi velocidad normal, ¿ok? Contando historias reales, con emociones reales y hablando como hablamos normalmente. Y escucha esto con mucha atención. Si tú eres principiante, no salgas de este video. En serio, no te vayas, porque uno de los errores más grandes que cometen las personas aprendiendo inglés es escapar cada vez que no entienden algo. Y cada vez que tú haces eso, creas un hábito muy peligroso que se vuelve difícil de romper más adelante. Un patrón mental, por decirlo así. Tu cerebro aprende, oh, es que esto es difícil, mejor me voy. Pero así jamás vas a entender el inglés real y desarrollar verdadera fluidez. La única forma de poder entender mejor el inglés y eventualmente hablarlo muy bien es exponerte al inglés regularmente, aunque no entiendas todo, aunque entiendas solamente el 20%, el 10%. Your brain is still learning. Tu cerebro sigue aprendiendo. Tu cerebro está absorbiendo pronunciación, ritmo, expresiones, escritura, emociones, todo. Así es como los niños aprenden idiomas. Así es como yo aprendí español. Entonces, today, I want you to relax. Listen carefully and simply try your best. ¿Ok? Y para hacerlo más divertido, voy a dividir mi historia personal en 3 secciones. At the end of each section, I'm going to ask you a comprehension set of questions in Spanish to see how much of my English you understood. Esta primera sección va a tener subtítulos, la segunda no, y la tercera posiblemente sí, posiblemente no. Será una sorpresa. Gracias por estar aquí. Let's begin. Section 1. So, I was born in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I lived in Greensboro until I was about 16 years old, almost 17. And eventually, I moved to the suburbs of Chicago because my mom got remarried. My parents divorced when I was 3 years old, and growing up, my mom pretty much raised me the majority of the time, like just she and I. I didn't spend a whole lot of time with my father, except usually on weekends. And to be honest with you, there was definitely a little bit of resentment between kind of both sides of my family. And unfortunately, I think there was probably some character assassination happening from both directions because of those resentments. I don't really have a lot of memories growing up of a super happy big family sitting around the dinner table together, laughing, telling jokes, and being there with one another, supporting each other. Or even a huge emotional family connection like many Latinos describe when they talk about their childhoods, being so fortunate and blessed to be surrounded by all of their loved ones. And honestly, I think that that's probably one of the reasons I love Latin American culture so much today. I'm not sure, but I think it sort of gives me that feeling that I always wish I had. My father actually had another child from his first marriage before my parents were together. My half-brother, basically, Blake. And unfortunately, a few years ago, he passed away after a 10-year battle with cancer. He was in his 30s when it happened, a little emotional, as you can see. And what finally took his life actually wasn't the cancer. It was pneumonia, because his immune system had become so weak from the cancer that he had that he wasn't able to survive it. And honestly, it's still something that deeply affects me today. Years later, literally. Years later, it still affects me today. Because growing up, we were raised in different households. We didn't see each other a lot. We only saw each other a couple times per year. So we never really developed a super close relationship. But at the same time, there's still this feeling inside me, wondering what could have been with my brother had he survived. And that's the part that I battle with to this day. And knowing that he's gone, it sort of leaves a hole in my soul that I honestly don't know if it will fully disappear at any point, honestly. I think about him a lot. It wasn't easy. And another interesting thing about my childhood is that my mom actually adopted my blood cousin, Courtney, from her own sister, meaning my mom with her sister had a child, she adopted that child due to my aunt's problems with different substances and alcohol. And so technically, my cousin sort of became my sister and was raised under the same roof as me as my sister. And to me, there was never any difference. She's my sister. She's not my cousin. That's the way I think of her. Just simply as my sister. We're also not extremely close today, but we do talk some. We do love each other. And honestly, there's not a whole lot about my childhood that I would necessarily change. A lot of those experiences shaped me into who I am today. But I will tell you this. Even though today I probably seem very, clean cut, calm, normal possibly, during my teenage years, I definitely got into some trouble. Not like a lot of huge trouble or anything, but I experimented with different things, alcohol, other things, and I discovered something about myself very quickly. I realized that I have an extremely addictive personality. And once I realized that, I made a decision that changed my life forever. I walked away from that entire lifestyle. And at the time of this recording, I haven't touched any alcohol or any substances or anything, not even one time, for nearly 14 years. So honestly, moving to Chicago at 16, almost 17 years old, was probably one of the best things that could have ever happened to me, and I didn't even know it. Because I was getting away from people that I probably shouldn't have been around back in North Carolina. But at the same time, it was terrifying. I was leaving behind friendships that I had since kindergarten. I was moving halfway across the country to Chicago. Different weather, different culture, different people. And I didn't know a single soul. And I was scared. Ahora hagamos un pequeño quiz. ¿Ok? Vamos a hacer una pequeña pausa. Esa fue la primera sección. Y como viste, estoy siendo súper honesto y transparente sobre mi vida. Ya dije cosas bastante personales, pero esto es exactamente el tipo de inglés real que necesitas escuchar si quieres mejorar de verdad. Entonces, vamos con unas preguntas de comprensión. Pregunta número 1. ¿Por qué yo me mudé de Carolina del Norte a Chicago? A. Porque conseguí trabajo allá. B. Porque mi mamá se volvió a casar. O C. Porque quería estudiar en otra escuela. Bueno, si escuchaste y entendiste, la respuesta correcta es B. Porque mi mamá se volvió a casar. Pregunta número 2. ¿Cuánto tiempo duró la batalla sobre el cáncer de mi hermano? A. 5 años. B. 8 años. C. 10 años. La respuesta correcta aquí es C. 10 años. Pregunta número 3. ¿Cuánto tiempo dije que llevaba sin consumir alcohol ni otras cosas en mi caso? A. 4 años. B. 14 años. C. 20 años. Bueno, depende de cuando veas este video, pero la respuesta correcta según la historia son 14 años. ¿Ok? Y escucha, si no entendiste todo, no pasa nada, estás practicando, no te rindas. Keep going, sigue. Tu cerebro está aprendiendo aunque no te des cuenta. Y ahora sí, vamos con la segunda parte de la lección. Section 2. So, after moving to Chicago, I ended up living there for about 10 years. And during that time, I eventually got a job working for Apple. At first, I was selling iPhones and other Apple products in retail stores. And while I was doing that, I also was going to college part-time studying communications. I did work incredibly hard, and eventually, I'm lucky enough to say I got promoted at Apple multiple times. And one of those promotions completely changed my life because it allowed me to relocate to California. Growing up, I always told my mom that I envisioned moving to California, enjoying the mountains, the beach, the lifestyle. I didn't even know how I was going to get there or why I wanted to go there, other than the beauty of the state and things like that. But I never had an execution plan to get there. But overnight, when I got that promotion, my life changed dramatically. I went from making a relatively normal income to suddenly making 6 figures per year overnight. And honestly, it didn't feel real. I constantly felt like I didn't belong at Apple. I was surrounded by incredibly intelligent people, Harvard graduates, Ivy League, Princeton graduates, people from all kinds of elite universities, and people from all over the world. Okay? For example, Asian people, Indian people, Hispanic people, all in one place. Apple is a very inclusive company, so you have a lot of diversity within the company itself. But being around a lot of these people who had more credentials than I did, it made me feel like I was the least intelligent person in the room most of the time. And there was this sort of feeling inside me of, how did I get here? Like, how am I so lucky to be here? I knew I worked hard, but it was just kind of like, wow, like I'm here. I made it to the Apple headquarters. That was what I always wanted when I started with Apple. And I never thought it would happen, and it did. So I decided to give it everything I had, all of my effort. And fortunately, things went well. I continued getting promoted. I eventually went to graduate school and got my master's degree in business from Auburn University, my MBA. I'm very proud of that. And I did that while working full time. And I spent about 5 years living in Silicon Valley, surrounded by some of the most successful technology companies in the world. Facebook, Apple, Google, Microsoft, NVIDIA. And during that time, I built an entire career in technology. A career that eventually I walked away from completely to become an English teacher on social media. But there's an important detail I skipped earlier. Back when I was living in Chicago, I met a girl who became my high school sweetheart when I was only 17 years old. And we stayed together for about 8.5 years before I finally proposed to her. So eventually, yes, we did get married. But unfortunately, we later got divorced. That marriage did not work out. And honestly, it ended because of something that my partner chose to do that I never expected. Something that deeply shocked me. My family, everyone around us. And it created a lot of pain that honestly still affects us literally years later. That's probably a story for another day. But strangely enough, my journey with Spanish didn't truly begin until after that. I had studied a little bit of Spanish back in high school, just a little bit of the grammar. I never developed fluency. I never learned how to speak with native speakers in any kind of a fluent way whatsoever. But after the divorce, I went through kind of a really intense period of self-discovery in my life, and I started to ask myself, who is Connor Murphy? Who am I really? What do I actually enjoy? What do I want my life to look like? Because I had spent basically my entire 20s attached to another person, a person who, that's the only person I really knew. And don't get me wrong, there were some amazing moments during those years. There were a lot of incredible moments. I did a lot of things well, and I did a lot of things poorly, just like she did. We traveled, we experienced incredible things, but at the same time, there were clearly things that were missing. And once everything ended, I started reconnecting with dreams, passions, and interests that had always secretly existed inside me. And one of those things was nothing more and nothing less than the Spanish language. So at 31 years old, I dove headfirst into learning Spanish seriously for the first time. And honestly, I often say that learning Spanish literally saved my life because it gave me purpose during one of the darkest moments and periods of my life. And not only that, it completely transformed my future. Today I teach English to Spanish speakers. I live in Spanish-speaking countries. I'm obsessed with Latin American culture. I know how to dance salsa. I can dance bachata. I travel through Latin America trying to understand people better. I work with a foundation in Colombia teaching kids English from impoverished areas. And I love that. And honestly, there's this emotional connection that I have with Spanish, just with the Spanish language, that's difficult to describe. I love this language so deeply, way deeper than you can probably imagine. The way it sounds, the way that you guys sound when you speak it, the way the language is structured. And like I said, I truly believe it saved my life and it gave me a life. That's one of the biggest reasons why I do what I do today. Because this career combines the things that I love most. Teaching English, of course, speaking Spanish, traveling through Latin America, building connection with Latinos, learning about new cultures, and learning about people. Ahora, tomemos el segundo quiz. Muy bien. Okay, vamos con las preguntas de comprensión de esta segunda sección. Número 1. ¿Por qué terminó mi matrimonio? A. Porque yo me mudé a otro país. B. Porque mi pareja hizo algo que nunca esperé. O C. Porque discutíamos mucho sobre dinero. Aquí la respuesta correcta es B. Porque mi pareja hizo algo que nunca esperé. Bueno, que nunca esperábamos nosotros, toda la familia. Pregunta número 2. ¿Empecé a estudiar español intensamente por primera vez después del divorcio o ya había tenido algo de exposición antes? A. Nunca había estudiado nada de español. B. Sí había tenido algo de exposición antes. O C. Ya hablaba español fluido. Aquí la respuesta correcta es B. Ya había tenido algo de exposición antes, pero nunca me lo tomé realmente en serio. Pregunta número 3. ¿Cuántos años dije que viví en Silicon Valley? A. 2 años. B. 5 años. C. 10 años. Bueno, aquí la respuesta correcta también es B. 5 años. Mira, si esto te está costando un poquito y no entiendes del todo, perfecto, estás en el lugar correcto, porque eso quiere decir que estás creciendo. Ahora vamos con la última sección para ver si comprendes todo claramente. Section 3. So, one thing I've realized about life is that many of the hardest experiences that we go through are actually things that make us much stronger. And I'm definitely still growing as a person every day. But those painful moments, those painful experiences that I told you about, opened my eyes to many things, especially after my divorce. Because once I decided to become an English teacher and start making videos online, everything changed for me. At first, this entire project of Gringlés Fácil was just something I was doing for fun. I wasn't selling anything. I had no products. I was not selling a course. I wasn't selling any product. I wasn't doing anything other than teaching English online through short videos, actually, because I genuinely enjoyed it. And I loved hearing your comments, reading what you were saying, seeing that you were making progress. And I did that for years before ever selling anything online or becoming an official English teacher. So eventually, I realized that that was what I wanted to do full time. I became certified to teach English professionally, and over time, I combined all of the things I love into one life. Business, technology, teaching, Spanish, Latin America, and content creation. And somewhere during all of that time, I also met some incredible Latinas, different women at different points in time. And I haven't had a ton of girlfriends or anything like that, but the first serious relationship I had with a Latina was with a Mexican woman, and she was fantastic. She was like my introduction to the Latin world, to the Spanish-speaking world. That relationship didn't work out for many reasons. It's another story, believe me. But overall, like in general, if we zoom out, life has taught me that painful experiences often become opportunities for growth, even though they hurt deeply. And you guys, when I say you guys, I mean people from Latin American cultures, have taught me, without even realizing it possibly, so many different things about valuing family, not taking life too seriously, that maybe it is okay to be 5 minutes late every now and then. And when I look back on life, many of the people who were once a part of my life are no longer there, right? And now every single day, I walk through Colombia, I take Ubers, I hear Spanish everywhere. I see completely different cultures and perspectives compared to what I experienced as a young boy in North Carolina, growing up there where there was not a lot of diversity. There was almost zero Latino culture around me. Very little Spanish back then. This was in the 90s and the early 2000s. Very little exposure to different cultures. And so sometimes I sort of ask myself, how is it possible that someone like me living this life now feels so natural to me? And how is it possible that living in a place like Latin America feels so familiar to me? Right? It's strange. It's like it's my comfort zone. And honestly, sometimes I genuinely feel like in another life, I could have been Latino, I could have been Hispanic, I don't know. Because the emotional connection that I feel to the culture and the language is incredibly strong. It feels familiar, it feels comforting, and it feels natural to me. And honestly, I feel incredibly blessed. Because after launching my English Academy, we've now helped like over 10,000 students in our course improve their English. We built an amazing online community with Gringlés Fluency Club, and we made it affordable because I truly want everyday people with regular jobs and things like that to have access to English, to have access to something powerful that works for them. And inside the community, I participate all the time. People are in live classes with me with other native speakers, and they get a complete course to go from beginner to advanced. Direct communication with me, and I get to interact with them. Speaking practice, challenges. And honestly, the direct communication that I have with my students matters a lot to me because every time that one of you joins, it reminds me of when I was younger working at TGI Fridays or at California Pizza Kitchen or the Melting Pot, where even though I never developed true fluency with Spanish, I did meet Latin immigrants, Hispanic immigrants, and I listened to their stories. I heard about sacrifice, family, pain, dreams. And those conversations changed me forever, even though I didn't realize it. So honestly, I am incredibly proud of the life that I live today. I've traveled to more than 20 countries. I prefer living in Spanish-speaking countries because I love the language and the people. I believe in honesty, transparency, and growth. I'm not perfect, but I truly believe in giving back to the places where I live. And at the time of this recording, I have no plans to leave Colombia. My mom is now divorced. The guy that she married and the reason why we moved to Chicago, that marriage didn't work out either. And she ended up getting divorced about 6 to 7 months after I got divorced. So my world totally changed. Her world totally changed. This was just like 4 to 5 years ago, actually. And she comes and visits me regularly. We have a great relationship for the most part. Of course, we fight sometimes between mother and son. We get frustrated and all of that, but we love each other. And when she visits, we have a great time. And I plan on continuing to improve my Spanish and my dancing for as long as possible. Now, with everything I've told you, I should also mention this to you. There's a lot more to my story. This is just a small part of my story. And now, what I would like to know is how much of this story you actually understood. Entonces, vamos a la tercera pruebita, o digamos, el tercer mini quiz. ¿Ok? Vas muy bien. Esta es la última ronda de preguntas. Número 1. ¿En qué país dije que vivo actualmente? A. Costa Rica. B. México. C. Colombia. Bueno, yo sí he vivido en Costa Rica, pero actualmente vivo en Colombia. Entonces la respuesta es C. Pregunta número 2. ¿Cuántos países dije que he visitado aproximadamente? A. Más de 20. B, más de 50. O C, más de 100. Aquí la respuesta correcta es A, más de 20. Aproximadamente 20 fue lo que dije. Pregunta número 3. ¿Por qué dije que me gusta enseñar dentro de mi comunidad privada Gringlés Fluency Club? A, porque gano más dinero. B, porque me recuerda a las conexiones humanas que tenía con latinos cuando era joven trabajando en restaurantes. O C, porque es más fácil que hacer videos. Aquí la respuesta correcta es B, porque me recuerda a esas conexiones humanas reales. Ahora, wow, bueno, compartí muchísimo. Yo no puedo creer que haya dicho todo esto en internet abiertamente para que cualquiera pueda escucharlo. Pero honestamente, sí, dije muchísimas cosas que jamás pensé que compartiría públicamente, pero lo hice porque ustedes han cambiado mi vida. Y siento que esta comunidad aquí en redes, sí, en esta misma plataforma, realmente es como una familia para mí. Claro que recibo comentarios negativos, seguramente van a llegar algunos, me vale. Claro que hay gente tóxica en internet, pero no importa, honestamente, porque prefiero ser transparente con ustedes, prefiero ser real, prefiero que este sea el lugar al que vienes cuando de verdad quieres aprender inglés y practicar. Entonces quiero que me digas en los comentarios, ya que me tomé el tiempo para comentarte todo esto, toda la historia básicamente. ¿Cuánto entendiste de mi historia? Sé honesto u honesta. ¿Te sorprendió algo de mi historia? ¿Quieres una parte 2? Voy a leer tantos comentarios como pueda. Y también quiero decirte algo importante mientras me dejas un comentario. Bueno, antes que todo, si te gustó el video, dale like. Si no estás suscrito o suscrita al canal, también haz clic en el botón que te permite suscribirte. Esto no es una técnica de ventas rara ni nada así. Lo que voy a decir ahora lo digo genuinamente. Si tú de verdad quieres aprender inglés conmigo y realmente quieres resultados, yo sí he ayudado a más de 10,000 hispanos a aprender inglés. Y ahora, con esta nueva comunidad que mencioné, Gringlés Fluency Club, tienes acceso a muchísimo valor por un precio extremadamente bajo. Tienes sesiones en vivo con nativos. Tienes mi curso completo que solía vender en cientos de dólares, que te lleva de cero o donde estés a nivel avanzado en menos de un año. ¿Okay? Con guía, con acompañamiento. Te da retos de speaking, acceso directo a mí en mensajes privados y también en el foro con todos. Tienes acceso a mis profes nativos. Tengo un equipo de 4 profesores nativos estadounidenses. Tienes un plan de actividades y tienes práctica real. Puedes ser miembro el tiempo que quieras si decides unirte a la comunidad algún día. Literal, te unes y si un mes dices, esto no es para mí, te vas, sin preguntas, sin trucos ni trampas. Pero honestamente, si eres miembro, vas a ver que vas a avanzar muchísimo más rápido que solamente viendo videos aleatorios o sueltos en internet o utilizando aplicaciones sin ningún acompañamiento ni estructura. Entonces, si quieres unirte o por lo menos obtener la información para considerarlo, haz clic en el link en la descripción de este video para SKOOL.com/gringlés. O también, si quieres, puedes escanear el código QR que acaba de aparecer. Pero en cualquier caso, aunque no te unas, no te preocupes, voy a estar aquí para ayudarte aquí en esta plataforma. Gracias, de corazón, muchas gracias por escucharme el día de hoy. A todos ustedes, los quiero muchísimo y les mando un fuerte abrazo. Nos vemos en el próximo video y si quieres ver otro video mío, te recomiendo este video aquí, que te enseña los 4 pilares que utilizo con mis alumnos para que aprendan inglés en menos de un año. Hasta luego, que estés muy bien.